What happens when the structures that hold our society together start to crumble? When trust in the government disappears and the law seems like just a suggestion? History teaches us a dark, but consistent lesson. In the empty space left by a shaky government, something new and powerful always rises to fill it. It's a pattern that repeats from ancient Rome to today's headlines. The weakness of official power is an invitation for forces once hidden to step out of the shadows. But don't be fooled. We're not just talking about rebel armies or militias armed with rifles. The true nature of these parallel forces is much more complex, more subtle, and because of that, much more dangerous. First, it's ideas that march, powerful beliefs, distilled into slogans and manifestos that spread like a virus through everyone's minds. They offer simple answers to complicated problems, a clear enemy to blame, and a promise of order in the middle of chaos. These stories are weapons, forged on anonymous keyboards and boosted by algorithms, capable of mobilizing millions without firing a single shot. They rewrite reality, turning neighbors into enemies and doubt into betrayal. Then, there are networks that breathe, organic and decentralized structures that operate outside of any official control, financial networks that launder money across borders with a click, informant networks that map the government's weaknesses, social networks that create echo chambers, feeding and radicalizing their members. Unlike the slow, hierarchical government bureaucracy, these networks are quick, adaptable, and almost impossible to take apart. Cut off one head, and two more grow in its place. They breathe information, they exhale influence. And finally, at the heart of these operations, we find the power machines. These are the ways that turn ideas and influence into real, tangible control. They have their own intelligence systems, often more effective than the government's. They carry out their own kind of justice, quick and brutal, in the streets that the police have abandoned. They build parallel economies, empires of extortion and smuggling that fund their growth. These machines don't just aim to compete with the government. Ultimately, they aim to replace it, becoming the only source of order, safety, and power. They move in the shadows until they no longer need to. Where the power of the state falters, where trust breaks down and order falls apart, new forces emerge from the shadows to fill the void. History is full of examples of paramilitary groups, unofficial armies born from crisis, fear, and strong beliefs. They are a sign of a sick political body, a violent response to a lack of authority. Let's look at Weimar Germany in the 1920s. Crushed by the Treaty of Versailles and plagued by hyperinflation that turned savings into dust, the young republic was a political powder keg. The streets of Berlin became battlegrounds. In this melting pot of chaos, the Nazi Party created its shock troops, the Sturmabteilung, or SA. More than just protesters, the brown shirts were the party's iron fist, attacking opponents and creating a show of force that the democratic government seemed unable to match. For thousands of disappointed veterans and unemployed young men, the SA offered a uniform, a purpose, and a clear enemy. Weimar Germany saw the Sturmabteilung march not just as soldiers of a party, but as a sign of a state eating itself, paving the way for a new and terrible order. Decades later, a shadow war unfolded in Latin America. Deep in the Cold War's polarization, the region became a chessboard for the US and the Soviet Union. The conflict wasn't fought by regular armies, but by secret forces. Latin America saw militias operating like shadows. From Nicaragua to Colombia, right-wing death squads, often supported by Western agencies, hunted subversives, union members, students, journalists. They were the unrecognized weapon of authoritarian regimes, responsible for the disappearance of tens of thousands of the disappeared. On the other hand, left-wing guerrillas, inspired by Cuba, waged their own brutal campaigns against the state. On both sides, the logic was the same. All-out war where there were no civilians, only fighters or collaborators. At the same time, in Europe, a religious conflict burned in Northern Ireland. During the Troubles, distrust between the Protestant and Catholic communities eroded faith in state institutions. For many loyalists, the police and British Army didn't protect them from the IRA's campaign. Feeling under attack, they turned to their own organizations. In Northern Ireland, the Ulster Volunteer Force, or UVF, controlled territories. They enforced their own brutal law in working-class neighborhoods, patrolling streets and executing suspected Republicans. Their murals declared loyalty not to the state, but to their community. They waged a parallel sectarian war, turning cities like Belfast into a patchwork of hostile territories where official authority was, at best, a visitor. Weimar, Latin America, Northern Ireland. Different settings, different beliefs, but a recurring pattern. The Sturmabteilung, the death squads, the UVF, all thrived where the state's control of violence broke down. They are the armed manifestation of distrust, the violent response to a power vacuum. Each era, a response to the failures of official power. Strength doesn't start with weapons. It starts in the mind. Before a recruit touches a rifle, their mind is the first battlefield. The process is methodical. Break down the individual to create a new way of thinking. An elite mindset, sharpened by discipline and hardened against fear. Through psychological stress tests and simulations that push the mind to its limits, they learn to operate with cold, deadly clarity. The mind isn't just a tool. It's the main weapon, the aiming system that guides all others. It's the stronghold that must remain unshaken, even when the body fails and chaos reigns. From the ashes of the self, a group identity rises. The bonds here are forged in sweat, pain, and shared purpose. It's the trust between brothers. Absolute trust, tested in life or death situations. Every exercise, every sacrifice, weaves an unbreakable web. They learn to function as a single organism, anticipating each other's moves. Trust isn't a feeling, it's an operating procedure. It's knowing that the person next to you will have your back, because you would do the exact same for them. And what cements this brotherhood? The constant feeling of threat. An enemy, whether real or made up, is essential. This other serves as the unifying focus for the group's aggression and sacrifice. The story is simple. The world outside is dangerous. Only within the group is there safety. This siege mentality justifies the extreme training and blind obedience. The constant threat keeps the unit on high alert, reinforcing their dependence on each other. Fear, when channeled, becomes the most powerful fuel. In the end, the reward goes beyond money or things. The group becomes status, belonging, the promise of power. For those who feel lost, the unit offers a clear identity and an unwavering purpose. Belonging to this elite gives immediate status, a respect that is mixed with fear. It's the feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself. And the power. It's not just the power to destroy. It's the power to bring order to chaos, to influence the course of history. This is the final attraction, the siren song that promises a place among the masters of war. On the outside, they look like chaos. On the inside, precise gears, strategic command, operational cells, invisible logistics, and external networks. A living organism, adaptable, resilient, invisible to the common eye. The training is brutal and life-changing. Physical discipline, operational tactics, and mental toughness. An ordinary citizen is shaped into an essential part of a strategic machine. No machine survives without fuel. Legal businesses, strategic sponsorships, illegal networks, and community support. Diversity is power. Money flows like blood in an invisible machine. To survive, they need to make deals. Social acceptance, political alliances, flexible control, invisible but unavoidable force. Paramilitaries aren't just groups, they're complex things, products of history, psychology, and money. Fascinating, tough, feared. Studying them means understanding the hidden power that shapes the fate of nations.